We'll move on now to some other bad news for the Marvels, and that is the box office projections, which aren't looking good at all. Okay, so the Marvel pre-sales are now pacing behind The Flash. And that opened to 55 million. We know how badly The Flash did at the box office, and we know the budget was something around like 300 million. So you're going to have a little competition going of who the biggest bomb or biggest flop of the year. But apparently the budget is 275 million, but Marvel got a 55 million subsidy from the UK government, which brings its net budget to around 220 million. Still very high. So we're looking at a break-even point around 450 to 550 million. And then once you incorporate the marketing cost and all that, it'll be around that figure. As for Thursday previews, it's looking to be around 6 to 7 million, potential to go under 6 million. And just for comparison to see how bad this is, Morbius did 5.7 million on Thursday previews. But there's still some hope. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was quite weak in its pre-sales, looking around 80 million, got a massive boost up in its last week. And it ended, I think, around like 115, around that area for its opening weekend. But the tracking here is not on the same kind of trend, so the hope is low. And even further to this, the lowest opening weekend for the MCU is The Incredible Hulk, which was 55.4 million. And then once you account for inflation, all that, it'd be around 79 million. So for it to open potentially below 55 million is a big deal.
It's a big deal. I don't know if it'll beat The Incredible Hulk because that's very, very low.
Yeah.
But I think there's a few things to this. For one, a lot of people are projecting this will be the worst box office result for a movie that is a sequel to a $1 billion movie.
Oh, that's a good... Yeah.
So the at this time, the worst box office result for a sequel to its $1 billion original movie is Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Oh yeah, what did that make?
The Alice, you mean the first one or
the sequel?
I don't remember Through the Looking Glass.
No, that's a good.
It made 170 million. Oh no, so 300 million. It made 300 million. And it's the first one made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were projecting that it will lose to Alice Through the Looking Glass.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
No, that's quite a telling thing. Nay brings up the point often about why Captain Marvel was successful, and it's the movie right before Endgame. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So without that factor in here, what do you think Captain Marvel would have made without that kind of in-game momentum to it?
Probably half. That, I reckon. Maybe around about 600 million, 700.
Yeah.
But I think really the reason why I had $1 billion was because it was literally the movie after Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone was going to go see if it set up Endgame or something like that.
Yeah. Because it only debuted like a couple months before Endgame as well.
Yeah, I think it was like, was it? I don't know when it was, but
March or something.
Yeah, pretty early. But yeah, it's not looking good. I guess it goes to show that everyone's sick of Marvel. We'll get to that in a bit. But it also goes with the track record of Marvel's films and TV series being pretty shit lately. Guardians of the Galaxy is a bit of an outlier there. Mm-hmm. That's probably why it did so well in that last week, was because it ended up being a decent film, and obviously word of mouth for that weekend. Don't really see it for this movie unless it's Marvel. Marvel is marketing this in like the worst way possible to have a massive surprise, but I think this is gonna flop hard and fast.
Yeah, well, I think the difference here is that Guardians of the Galaxy is also the finale to a trilogy. So it makes a lot of sense for people to be convinced over to go and complete that trilogy and see those characters through. Whereas with the Marvels, it's so truncated. You've got Monica Rambeau from WandaVision. You've got Miss Marvel. Then you've got Kamala Khan, and it's all split all over the place, and it's sort of like you even had a central place to view all these characters build towards that moment. Whereas Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously, it did. And I think really what the result will be is a box office, so like a worldwide box office grossing of under 500 million for sure.
I think so. Yeah,
I think that's definitely. I think that's just like a fact already.
Yeah, it shocked me that Ant-Man only made around like 475, and we're gonna have another Marvel movie go under that. It's just crazy. Do you think the movie would have benefited if it was called Captain Marvel 2, and I guess the marketing showed the continuation of Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, and then with those side characters being in the plot?
Yes, possibly, but I think it would. I think a big part of the problem again is that you're using these other properties that, let's be honest, the vast majority of people haven't seen, and you're using that as a way to market your film.
Yeah,
and that's, most people only know Captain Marvel. That's it, full stop. And even the people who have seen WandaVision,
won't remember.
They won't even remember who Monica Rambeau is. She'll be like, "Oh, who's this new character?" Yeah. And it's like, you didn't know, you've already seen her. Yeah. Because she's such a small part of WandaVision, really, in the grand scheme of things. She's not particularly characterized at all.
Yeah. It's very true.
So, yeah, this is not looking good. And as for the question of would a straight up Captain Marvel 2 work?
Yeah.
It would depend on like the villain and the setups and whether or not they're going to do something really interesting with it.
Yeah.
That's
true. I mean, I guess this is just a symptom of what really Marvel's really going through, which we're going to cover that off soon because there is a lot